So it's 4 o'clock. I guess I'll get started. Thanks for joining, everybody. I'm sure that some people will trickle in here. So Zen, welcome to your first office hours with Arbitrage. Thanks for joining.
Okay. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
If your New York hat is any indication of our shared suffering.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in South Florida, so we have all the displaced New Yorkers who fled from New York and really just brought the problem with them.
You're in Florida?
Yeah, so Southeast Florida to be specific for you. So I'm going to just open right with you because I imagine we're going to have so much to talk about afterwards. I'd hate to run out of time.
Okay. How long is this?
I run an hour.
Okay.
I stopped right on time. So Zen is one of our older users, not in age, but in account age.
Both.
And, well, you say both, but I can't tell. You could have an AI running your Zoom right now. We don't know. But I want to ask you a question. You've got 3 accounts. Which one do you consider to be your #1 account?
Oh, well, obviously NASDAQ jockey.
How did that name come to be?
It's something I've had that handle for a long time on Yahoo. I trade stocks, and just made it up. The other one, the second model is Evolves, and that one started out. I used genetic algorithms to do that one, and so that's what I named it. And actually, the first model I ever put up was ZBrain. And
oh, okay. So technically, ZBrain's your
what?
OG handle. ZBrain would be your OG handle for this tournament, then.
Right. Yeah, that was back in 2016.
Yeah. How did you find out about Numerai?
I had a friend of mine who read a Medium article and said, "Hey, you should go look at this." So I did, and hopped on.
Very cool. And you just said you started participating in 2016. Do you know the start date of your first account?
Yeah, it was December 12th.
Of 2016?
2016.
Okay. So a little after the first wave, still early on. And we established now that you live in New York, or at least the New York area.
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay, yeah, like I said, New York area, basically. What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm a software engineer by trade, but I've had a pretty long career. Ended up working in mostly in defense, and I eventually became a manager and senior manager, and then took a couple of buyouts here and there, and I've kind of come full circle. Now I work for a company and I lead the AI department at. I don't want to disclose the company right now.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. That's not.
So I'm a VP for AI for them, and so I do a lot of hands-on work too. Though we have a number of clients where I do some actual coding for them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what programming language do you use and why?
Well, I use Python. Yeah. Self-taught. Started, a few years ago. Actually used Python maybe 10 years ago. And for various little things when it was just easier to use something that already existed. But, I grew up, I've used just about every language on the planet. So, but right now, everything I do for Numerai is in Python.
Yeah, I found that to generally be true, except Bohr likes to cut his wild streak and run his own way. But I imagine he's going to switch to Python after we talk about complexity versus simplicity.
Bohr is R? Can't hear you, Bohr.
Bohr. There you go.
I'm using Clojure.
Who?
Clojure, a Lisp of the JVM.
Yeah. So. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so, I'm a Python lover, actually. I've been, use just about every language, but I mean, Python's great for getting things done quick. Maybe not speed, but some things are still good. So.
Well, I was just going to say, Python wasn't fast until what, about 2015?
Yeah, absolutely. In the beginning, it was very slow.
In your opinion, do you think that was more of a Moore's Law contribution, or did we just get better with compiling this stuff?
No, I think they got a lot better in what they did in the back end. You know, I've read a little bit about it, but I think they've done a lot of work to make some of the core libraries run really fast. It depends what you do and how you do things now too.
Oh, for sure. I saw a tweet by Guido, and he was saying that people who were used to old style Python should just ignore everything data science is doing, and then you'll see some similarities.
Yeah.
So it seems like the data science community has kind of almost forked Python for our own use.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So one of the questions I have, and I had to ask since you're the legendary NASDAQ jockey.
Legendary.
Legendary. Can you tell us your top 3 tips for the tournament?
Well, let me think about that. I mean, I think the biggest problem most people have is they overtrain still, even though they think they're not. I think they're just, you know, they're training too much on that initial, and if they're using the validation data, I think they're screwing themselves. But, you know, I don't use the validation data. And I try very hard not to overtrain. I do a lot of things to make sure I don't.
All right, so that's one tip.
That's one. I think consistency across the validation errors is important. And there's a couple of them that are really tough to get on. And that's what NASDAQ Jockey does. It really does. It does good at consistent. It might not be so great on some of the errors in the validation data, but it's really good on a couple of the tough ones. And I'm looking forward to that new data because now I'm interested in seeing how you know, I'm going to have to change what I do in order to tune to the new validation data set.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question on that in a second, but I still want one more, so we're waiting on number 3.
Okay. Oh, I think one of the things that screwed me up in the beginning was I didn't keep good records of how when I made changes of things, and then I, you know, upload them, and it takes so long to know how your model's doing. Just keeping good records and then going back and making small tweaks and not trying to make these gigantic changes all the time and changing your stakes and changing your models. I mean, I haven't changed NASDAQ Jockey in a long time. I mean, I'm trying other things, but, you know, that one, actually with ZBrain, I've been fooling around, but, and it's been improving, but I haven't touched that one, and it evolves in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't changed very much with my arbitrage account in probably 18 months, like beyond getting it adjusted for the different features. And it's done pretty well. Did want to go back to, you say the validation data, the second bit of that you're going to change a lot of stuff. But if your model's doing very good now, why would you change anything?
No, I'm probably not going to change anything with NASDAQ Jockey, but I have 7 other NASDAQ jockeys that I just started 3-4 weeks ago.
Okay, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, is if you were up to 10 accounts by now.
Yeah. No, I have the 3 initial ones that I've been doing forever, and I just like a month ago did 7 more, and they're totally different. They're a whole different idea, and I think they're looking pretty good actually. Yeah,
these have been some pretty easy eras lately, so I'm waiting with bated breath to see how this all turns out.
Yeah.
One of the questions I like to ask people I interview is, who is your favorite team member?
It's got to be Anson. No, I don't have a favorite one.
He finally picked one. We have a winner.
Yeah, well, he's the only one I ever talked to.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go, Sly Fox. Sly Fox with the victory there.
Sly Fox, yeah. I saw a bar in Pittsburgh named Sly Fox. I sent you a picture of that. Did you see that?
Nice.
No, I did not. Was it recent, or did you send it to me a long time ago?
Yeah, I sent it to you. That was probably a couple months ago.
You were
I was in Pittsburgh, and I took a picture of this bar. It was called Sly Fox.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember that. We should share it if you still have it here.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah.
We should have the East Coast meetup at the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh, it's in Pittsburgh, though. I don't go to Pittsburgh very often.
Well, let's hope we'll be able to go to Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
let alone worry about going very often. So this is an interesting question since you're near the hot spot of the world right now. What's your number one feature request or improvement that you'd like to see for the tournament?
Well, I wish everybody would just stop whining on Slack, but no. As far as you know, I don't have a big rig or anything. I have like an Alienware I bought 5 years ago. You know, I've been doing everything on that, and I wish the files were smaller. Not number of records. I think the number of records are fine. It's just it's so much waste. I mean, you could reduce that file size by 25. You know, actually make it 25% of what it is, and still have all the same features and data. And I don't know if you guys looked at that, but it seems pretty wasteful. It's just time consuming and a pain in the ass.
No, that's good, and I think that's something that Slyfox has talked about in the past, something that they'd like to iterate on, because it comes out of the box float 64, and it could easily be reduced from there. Is that
I mean,
what you're
really,
referring to
all the
specifically?
targets are just, there's 5 targets. You could use, you know, 0 through 4 if you wanted, you know, and you get right there off the bat, you're gonna do tremendous. You could even make it a binary file if you wanted. I'm old school.
Yeah, for sure. It's something we're looking into. I think file sizes is also something that makes everything that we do slower internally.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're
think so.
definitely gonna look into it. Good
Yeah, that's
recommendation.
Oh, great.
I
And
mean, otherwise, I think the whole layout of the tournament. I mean, the whole thing with the leaderboard and MMC and everything. I mean, it's all good. It's just it's very I don't know. It's very convoluted right now. I think there's, you know, it's hard to tell what we're going to end up with. I think you know, you're basically setting an objective function for the company is the way I look at it. You know, it's like your objective function is to get the best models, you know, so that you can create a good meta model. And so you're tweaking all our rewards so that we're going to give you what you want. I think it's working. I mean, it seems to be working. It's hard to tell. I didn't like the answer the other day when he told me that he expects us, you know, if people want to stake on the example predictions, he'd like that. I don't know, that kind of just seemed odd to me. I understand. Did you hear that?
I did, yeah. I was a little irked by that too, but if you just take a huge step back and think about it, the way it was answered made sense.
No, I know it makes sense. It's just
But it
seems a little counterintuitive though.
Yeah, it is in the sense that like it's a zero effort way to climb the leaderboard. So I don't like that because I want people to struggle as much as I did. And so I want the path to be as difficult and onerous as possible so that they don't inadvertently surpass me. But, you know, I digress.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is really, you know, it's a competition. So,
yeah,
you know, it's, you want to you got to have your own secret sauce so you can beat the other guy, I think, you know, but there is a certain amount of collaboration I think we're all doing to a certain level.
Agreed. And it's like the old, I know this is your first office hours, but there's this section of the process in this Zoom series where we talk about some stuff, but we don't really say anything at all. And I think that's the collaboration you might be referring to. So you said you're up to 10 models. You have 8 total variations of NASDAQ jockey. But why didn't you go for ZBrain or Evolves and try something with those?
Oh, actually, at this point, they're all similar. Except, well, the first 3 are similar, but the new 7 are very different. So just the name doesn't mean they're the same model. I keep track of what's really going on in them, but NASDAQ Jockey 1 has nothing to do with NASDAQ Jockey. Totally different. 1 through 7 are all different.
Interesting. Yeah, for me personally, I just use the numbers. They actually do mean something. So if it's an arbitrage 1 through 7.
I wish I had started out like that. I wish I had started out like that and just used the Google accounts like that.
Yeah.
Now I'm all screwed. I can't wait for a single sign-in. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, Sam, we're all anxiously waiting for that. That'll definitely be good. So you have pretty good confidence in your models. Are you staking evenly across them, or do you still favor NASDAQ jockey?
No, I do about every 3 months. I look at the performance and I weight the staking to the best model. I have more on NASDAQ jockey, less on evolves, and significantly less on ZBrain.
Yeah, personally, the way I look at it is I look at the approach that it took to arriving at that model. And if I think it has the best justification from like a design standpoint, I come at it with a scientific approach and I arrive at a solution that makes sense, then I can believe in that a little more than something that I cobble together by chance, you know? I'm not sure I
Yeah, I
explained
guess
that
so.
well.
I just look at the stripped down performance. Don't look at the bonuses. Just look at how well did it really perform, you know, on the live data. And that's number one for me on staking. I don't have the other 7 staked yet. I got to transfer some NMR over there.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see a little bit before I stake on some of the new ones. I mean,
Yeah.
in the end, I probably will, but I doubt I'll stake very large. I wanted to look at some chat. I've been ignoring chats. Let me take a look real quick. Yeah, okay, we got to that one. What was the feature request? Smaller files. Do we get to rename accounts in the new merger? And Slyfox, you said eventually yes, but the username is embedded in a few places. So it'll take a bit of time, but eventually we can rename our models.
Yeah, I think so. Another question that I'm kind of thinking about myself is like, what can we build to help you guys track your changes better? So I think Kino actually had a lot of good suggestions here, and also just ideas of like, I don't know, somehow letting you label your models in time. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any ideas of like how we can make that easier. I think that's something we can also build. I think this, at the simplest level, letting you change your name, I think just might help. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of a fan of stickiness. So like my account is arbitrage and it's been since June of 2016. I don't want to change that. I want it to stay pretty stable. But I guess I'm old school in that sense. I don't know. You change your profile picture, but like, I don't know. The username to me, that's like a fixed thing. It's tied to the blockchain too, though, in a way.
It used to, yeah. So it used to be tied to the blockchain. Right now, it is not. The new set of staking contracts are only tied to your address.
Email address?
No, Ethereum address.
Oh.
ZEN, NASDAQ jockey. That's how I'm going to call you NASDAQ jockey because that's who I want to beat. But thank you for coming in today and answering some of my questions.
Hey, no problem.
It's really helpful. There is a theme I've noticed with a lot of the people talking about avoid overfitting, make sure you average across the eras, and then also take good notes. That was, I think, Bohr's #1 suggestion was note-taking. So it's good to see that that's consistent across some of the users at the top of the leaderboard. I'm really excited about the questions today because this first one I really thought about for a while because it's pretend I'm a 5-year-old and explain exactly how MMC2 works. Asking for a friend. This is fun. This is fun. And I'm not sure I'm going to do a good job, but I'm going to give it hell. I'm going to give it hell. So I imagine my nephew is like, hey, Uncle John, what is MMC? And I'm like, oh, man, how on earth am I going to explain this? Well, at 5 years old, hopefully we've all played a team sport, right? If you play a team sport, not everybody can be the pitcher, for instance, in baseball. Sometimes we need an outfielder, an infielder, a pitcher, a catcher. We need people who are really good at handling left-handed pitchers. We need people who are really good at handling right-handed pitchers. And in the end, it takes all these varied skill sets to come together and create a victory for the team. So if we extrapolate that example to the tournament, if we were all pitchers, then the meta model would be terrible. But if we had all unique skill sets and we played as a team, then we could win.
I love that. I was
That was my
actually,
5-year-old MMC answer.
I wish
yeah, that's really good.
we were here to fight with you.
What'd you say, NJ?
So Michael had like a similar explanation once in the office, and Jason, like, who's usually very chill zone, got like super edgy about like, why wouldn't you want like 10 of the best and stuff, like not from a Numerai perspective, but from the example that Michael was giving. So
Mike, give your example.
Yeah, my example was like with a basketball team. So I was saying if you have like Shaquille O'Neal, who's like just one of the most dominant players ever, but has like super like specific skill set.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, would you rather, if you have like 4 Shaquille O'Neals on your team already, would you be better off with like a 5th Shaquille O'Neal, or like literally any other player? You know what I mean? Like just anyone who has a different skill set from Shaquille O'Neal, even if they're not as good as him, right? But Jason,
My response to that is I take the 5th Shaquille O'Neal though.
Yeah, just pass the ball hand to hand over the top of everybody else's heads. Nobody could touch the ball ever. And
yeah, there's a lot of backlash about my basketball knowledge on that.
yeah.
well, yeah, I'm not really a basketball fan, so I'm probably putting my foot in my mouth on that. But yeah, so that's my answer on MMC to a 5-year-old. And
Let me try one.
yeah,
So I think mine might be more, it comes from basketball, but maybe this is better suited for 15-year-olds so I don't know if you guys notice, but like sometimes when you watch basketball, people talk about the score called plus minus. So plus minus it also exists in soccer and football, I think. So when you evaluate a sportsman's, performance, you can look at his or her individual stats, number of points they score, how many defensive plays they make. But you can also just measure statistically how well the team does when that player is on the field versus when that player is on the bench and when other people are on the field. And so this scoring system is actually quite popular already. Like if you play fantasy sports, you might also know the score. And so to me, MMC is just basically plus minus. Does the team perform better with you in it or not?
no, that's good. And now I'm going to segue off because since MMC was brought up, I think it's a very timely chance to talk about it. What if you are the team? So in the case of my model, this is my soapbox, so I can talk about myself. In the case of my model, I submit predictions on Saturday afternoon in the compute node, whatever, and then the meta model is built after that. So if my model's predictions are the meta model, in other words, the meta model converges on the solution that I already uploaded, I don't get an MMC bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My response is sort of,
You're not helping.
it's like,
I was first. I came first. You guys took my solution and now you're not paying me for it.
I don't think you should have an advantage of being, we don't want to give people too much advantage for just being first. Like, I think that's one of the problems that we had with originality, if you guys have been here for long enough.
Well, no, wait a second. It's unlikely. It's unlikely that I could predict with very high certainty the exact solution of the meta model because it's the sum of hundreds and hundreds of other models, right? But the fact that I did, and my model existed in the top 20 for 2.5 months, suggests that it's good and it validates the meta model itself. But yet I'm not getting any MMC for it because of the way that that is designed.
Right. So you will still get, that is why when we're designing this payout, we still want to reward you for being good. But we're not going to reward you for adding anything to the team because you didn't add anything to the team.
I am the team. I am the team. That's what I'm saying. I'm the team. I came first, and you just stumbled into my solution. I was first. I submitted predictions first, and then
The timing of it doesn't matter.
I'm just
Yeah,
playing
but yeah.
a little semantic game here, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who encounters this problem. It's something to think about. I will not be playing MMC because I don't have any incentive to, but I feel like if I am providing you the signal first and then you stumble into my solution as the optimal one, well, I should get something for that. Especially if other people are getting a larger piece of the proverbial pie just because they're different. I don't know. Something to think about. If I'm the only person complaining about this, well, clearly you're going to ignore me. I just bring it up because it's an interesting problem that I'm looking at. So now I'm going to go back to the questions. I'm just going to let the team think about that. I'm going to go to Jordy's question. Jordy's asking, you said that you use validation.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Mike, go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, so say you are the meta model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now when other people are playing MMC, in order to have positive rewards, like they have to be pulling the meta model in a better direction. Like they have to be doing better than the meta model. Like you can't get good MMC just for being unique if you're doing worse than the meta model, right? To have long-term expected benefits from it, your model has to be better than the meta model. So I think it makes a lot of sense that, like, if you do say you do have the meta model, you have the best possible model, and the meta model is better than what anyone else can come up with, then no one will be making money on MMC anyway, and you just be wanting to play the main tournament. MMC is like designed to remove those inefficiencies and like accelerate the progress towards the best meta model. So yeah, if you truly have like the best model and MMC is the best, then like no one would be playing MMC.
And just a note, since this gets summarized and put on the web eventually, I'm not claiming to have the best model. It's apparent that I don't, because I'm not number one now, and I've only been number one like a couple of days. So I just wanted to make sure I clarified that a bit. So Jordy asked a question. You said that you use validation for training after having applied cross-validation properly. Are you planning to use the validation 2 data for training also? I think my model's doing pretty good. And honestly, I'm going to be really bummed if in some way the addition of this data changes my data pipeline, because I don't really want to have to go through and change everything to select out the column or whatever. So I don't plan on changing anything, but I still have, do I have 3 or 2 slots left? Either way, I will then train some new models using that data and see how they do long-term. But I'm not changing my main models at all because they're really good. They've been good for a very long time. And I am the meta model, apparently. So yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. Kino, regarding payouts, when do you or anyone think they will stabilize? How far are we from a fair payout system? We seem to have no recourse but to complain. Well, let's talk about that first piece, Kino. When do I think it'll stabilize? Never. Payouts will never stabilize because this is stock market data. So the second that we think we arrive at a fair solution, everybody's all in. We're all super keen to stay staked and payouts are doing great. Some kind of regime change will occur. It's going to blow up our models. We're going to have some kind of risk we didn't account for, and it's going to have to change. So no, I don't think they'll stabilize in that sense. How far are we from a fair payout system? See, that I think is the more relevant question. How far are we from a fair payout system? I think we've got some ways to go, because yes, we had a 4 or almost a 5x return on Numerai itself in a little over a month, and that's awesome. That's a 5x increase in risk if you started staking a month and a half ago, right? So fair is relative to the person evaluating the system. And so we can design a system that's fair to some subset of users, but it will never be fair for everybody. And I don't know any possible way to satisfy everybody, because that sounds an awful lot like democracy at large, right?
Yeah, but I'm raising my hand now.
Oh, good. Please, this is a discussion.
So for instance, like the example that I had yesterday is that a model that I think was in the second place of receiving like payouts had like a negative MD and had like negative reputation. So today things have changed, but like, you know, just to give you an example, if you go to the leaderboard, board one has negative reputation and negative MNC, and still it's like the 10th model that has made Numerai has like 120 NMR paid out today. So it's more along those lines. It's like, I'm not sure, like, you know, everything is aligned, you know, in a way that is helping Numerai. And because, like, you know, again, like this, there are these models that are getting paid, but they are not contributing based on what they have told us that they want. I don't know if that makes sense. And if there's anything that we should probably focus on, or like push them to like focus on, and so that, I guess that's the question I have.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. I've been around so long and I've seen so many iterations of payout that this has been the best one that I've seen so far. And yeah, there are those unique models that can have negatives for rounds and whatever, but still have a positive return. And I think that's just like, not so much an anomaly, but I don't have an answer for that, because surely it has some value. If it has value 80% of the time, right? Like, just because this one time it doesn't have a good metric doesn't mean overall it's been bad for the fund.
Right, but it's also the balance of how much people are getting paid. So like, look at Sorius, or however it's. So Sorius is like on the stake leader, the leaderboard is stake leaderboard is 79, and he got paid today 469 NMR. So I mean, I'm not against like a big payout, but like, you know, my models, I have 2 models in the top 10. And they're not getting paid, like they're getting paid 50 NMR. So at some point, I'm like, what am I doing here? I mean, like, the rules are my models that much more worse? And if they are, like, then the leaderboard is like wrong. And it doesn't reflect the reality that we have. So, and so that's sort of like my main concern. And what I think has happened is that Numerai has like said, oh, we like to see big stakes because that, like, I don't know, that sounds good and that's a marketing point, but like, you know, my concern is that if we keep on like pushing towards like bigger stakes without them being tied to like a good performance, then we're gonna end up with like, at one point those are gonna just like exit because they're like, well, I'm not gonna go up in places, I have a ton of NMR, so I might as well cash out, and then that's gonna tank the price again, and everybody's gonna go. Like, everybody's going to burn, and we're going to be back into like where we were like 2 years ago, or like a year and a half ago. So, I mean, that's a concern that I have. And like, I don't feel that like the team, maybe answered yes, but like Richard does not like, you know, does not like to, you know, accept this like big elephant in the room as I see it.
Yeah. I've noticed that too. And there's a bunch of people that want to talk, but this is my soapbox, damn it. So I go first. I'm just messing around. No, it's I think it has a lot to do with scale, right? So it's a wealth effect almost. So somebody who's willing to throw down almost $200,000, they're accepting a level of risk that you and I can't relate to, right? Because I would not put that much money at risk. I wouldn't do it. That's no. No, I'd buy a house. Okay, like that's trading houses. I'm not okay with that. But at the same time, risk is relative. And so I think that's where the short Twitter answer for this is like, it's capitalism. And so it all works out in the end. So yeah, there's a lot of compensation going on for those high stakers, but that's exactly how it's supposed to be. That may not be an elegant answer, but I think that's just the way it works. If you want to earn more reward than them, then do better. Like, I think that's what Richard would say. And I think that in the end, on balance, yes, that's exactly what will happen. Somebody who knows that they're going to be in the top can stake large and do well on it until such a time there's more competition that pushes them out. That's always been my concern with teaching my students how to perform in the tournament, because I'm giving me a little bit of the secret sauce, right? And so if they do better than I do, my bonus is going to go down. I'm going to make less money. So, you know, it's that catch-22. I feel like I'm talking in circles, and I saw Bor wanted to answer this one. So I'm gonna. Why don't you pipe in, Bor?
So, Kino, if you're 0.01 better than Sorius, how long would it take you to catch up and beat him? Like, isn't that not just 1 year or something? If you're in the top 10 and he's like top 100, it might be something to help and calculate just to catch up.
So my estimates that I've made is that like if I stay sort of like in the top 100, like I'll end the year with like around like in between 3,500 and 4,000 NMR, and so he's at 7,000 NMR. So I mean, there's no way anybody can like catch up to him. He has, you know.
But wouldn't you be catching up in 2 years then if you're ending up 4,000 from?
Yeah, but at that point he'll be probably like around 30.
You're growing faster. That's this exponential curve thing that we see with academics as well. You're growing faster, so you'll catch up and you'll beat him.
No, because I'm compounding every 100 days, and he's already compounding back on those 100 years. So you know, it's exponential, but like you know, the first 100 days or like the first 20 days maybe that you started out like have a great impact. And so, I mean, we're going to see that in the next 2 weeks, because next 2 weeks, our payouts are going to just plummet because everybody's going to start like, you know, receiving payout bonuses from the first, well, as I understand it, the first 100 days, like nobody like staked, sorry, there's a truck passing. The first 100 days, like the 2 weeks, nobody staked more than like say maybe 10 NMR, but then everybody starts staking like a lot. So then we're gonna see our like stakes payouts, like our bonuses plummet because everybody's gonna be, you know, the calculation of the bonus is gonna be on those bigger numbers. And so we're gonna get diluted, as Michael said, like you know, like maybe like 1/3 of like our current payouts.
Yeah. Jason Rosenfeld in chat said in an ideal world, stake would have to be measured as a % of net worth, but that's impossible. And that would be like the fair way of doing it if you wanted it all to be relative like that. But that's impossible. Clearly, that's impossible. I feel like we'll never have a good answer on this one. Go ahead, Sly Fox.
Just quickly, like,
brief, though.
Just quickly, like, you know, the way this is like a systems problem that like happens all the time. So it's called success to the successful, basically. And so like governments, what they do is they, you know, they are the agents in charge of like coming and say, okay, you know, you have too much, we're going to tax you, or like you have too little, and we're going to take from the tax one and like, you know, give you back. So that's where like Numerai, the company, should come in and say, well, you know, it's like, yeah, your stake is huge, but like it's huge because you have like a lot of money, and so it's not contributing as much. So, but again, it's like the core of my question is like, I don't see Numerai beyond like Anson, Michael, I'm not sure. And Richard, I'm definitely sure he's not on board with like redistribution in a way, which sounds very socialist, but like, you know, it's keep in mind that the objective here is for the fund to make more money.
I would also say that one of the objectives is to be decentralized, and so it would have you can't have this human interjection. But Sly Fox, go ahead. We'll have to be brief though. Sorry.
Well, I'm good. I'd say my piece.
No, it's I like talking about this. I just.
Yeah. So again, you know, it's like if a solution for this, if the rules are not going to change, is you know, just like every now and then they rebalance the board. So like I have a chance to compete against Sorius, like on Numerai, but like again, you know, this is going to be super. People are not going to like it, especially because. Well, I don't know, like Sorius, as long as you don't harm him, I guess we're fine. But again, this would be like a sort of like an airdrop of sorts, which again, they're like not, I don't think they'll like to do that again.
Go ahead, Sly Fox.
Thanks, Kito. I think that's a great question. It's also something that we talk about a lot internally and think a lot about. So here's my philosophy. Well, okay, so first of all, I'm not going to talk about stability. I'll talk about that later. This is all about what I think is fair. I think there's like two ways of thinking about fairness. One is in maybe the human sense of like each human is an individual and they need to be respected. This is kind of like how governments work, you know, and you have to have strong identities, strong systems for identity in order to implement fair systems that is fair per person. In crypto and in a lot of systems that I guess we study when we're trying to design what Numerai wants to be in the long term, it's like fair per NMR, right? And the reason why it's like that is because it's really, really hard to implement Sybil resistant schemes on chain. And so instead of trying to say, okay, this is one human, and we're going to say, oh, there's like a maximum amount of stake that this human can make. We just have to make every payout as a percentage of stakes, right? So we're gonna pay you regardless if you're a human, if you're a dog, you're an AI, or you're just like some script that exists on the blockchain. We have to respect like that NMR as like the base unit of our payouts. So the way I see it is like this, right? Obviously, we're not there yet. Obviously, I don't think there are autonomous AI agents competing on Numerai yet. I don't think so. Maybe there are. The way I see it is like this. Right now, we have a group of humans that are working together that is trying to make this entire system work. But eventually, the long-term stable solution has to be something that is completely decentralized and has as few rules as possible. And so when I think about stability and like what we're asymptotically going to move towards, the way I see it, the simplest and the most fair is just you do well, you get paid. You don't do well, you get burned in a perfectly symmetric way. And I think in a lot of ways, that's kind of what we had before. We still have that today at the core of it. All of this bonus stuff, all of this like, you know, compounding stuff is in a lot of ways our way of giving you guys more money than what I think is the absolute fair symmetric payout. And so, and the reason why I think we need that is because the targets is not yet in a place where you can reasonably expect super consistent payouts. And so the experience of having to go through multiple burn weeks is something that we saw in the past couple of years. It's just really bad, right? If we stick to our guns and say that we can only have this perfect symmetric payout, maybe a lot of you guys wouldn't be here. Maybe a lot of the new users would just straight up quit. If the first 6 weeks of them playing is all negative, they're not gonna think, oh, this is an elegant symmetric system. They're gonna think this sucks. So what we're really actively trying to do with all of these bonuses is to like, just give you guys more money in a way that doesn't break the symmetry. But I think super, super long term, I think what we want to end up with is just that symmetric payout. So when we're thinking about MMC and whenever we update the targets, so like from Bernie to like the 5 and 7 that we had to Kazugi, when we design these targets, we want them to be more and more consistent and stationary so that your guys' payouts can be more consistent and stationary. And so I think with MMC, it's going to be even more that way. And so the best users who are actually doing really well can expect more consistent payouts so that we don't need to have these types of like bonuses that I think actually break the symmetry. So anyways, that's my philosophy.
No, I'm with you. Thanks for that. I'm going to go forward with some questions so we can get through it and see if we can't finish on time. Is there any study available on how many of the Numerai models are overfit based on live performance? I've read that Quantopian paper, by the way. 99.9% of the back tests were grossly overfit. I would say any model that has 20 weeks of continuous submissions and still has negative reputation is clearly overfit. And that can also be measured probably with MMC. So if you have near zero, slightly negative, or even just slightly positive reputation and 0 or negative MMC, you're overfit. And any kind of move above that is probably just luck. but there's no formal study that I'm aware of, although I've thought a lot about possibly doing a proper study. I just think it's a little too niche. So for me, the risk is that I do a lot of work on a paper and there's no publication path. While it's very interesting, so like my incentives aren't aligned to do such a study, although I think it's very interesting.
Publish it on the forum, arbitrage.
No, it's too much work. I
For
got other
fame,
stuff to do.
for fame and glory.
Yeah. I'll let somebody else take that fame and glory. I need publications in finance journals. For a beginner, how does MMC change what I should be looking to aim for with my model? Am I now looking to be unique? Well, Tom, you're looking to be performant and unique. But I would still, if like, I was thinking about this today just briefly, I was like, oh man, do I need to change how I teach my students? No, I'm not going to change anything, because still having a high correlation model is very good for the fund, and you can still earn money on it with the payout system. Bonus is not the only way to make money. It just helps a lot. So MMC, specifically targeting MMC, might not be the best game to play. I would say to combine performance with uniqueness is definitely an interesting path, but right now I wouldn't advise anybody new to go down that path. Perhaps on some other accounts, but not on your main account. Quant Ben, MMC2 neutralizes our forecast against the meta model. In a world where meta model is perfect, well, you mean my model, I just want to be clear. In a world where my model is perfect, we should expect MMC2 to either always be negative. We should expect MMC to, oh, I don't quite get that. Is that desirable? In a world where it's perfect. Yeah, if MMC had always perfect predictions, we'd be out of business. They'd have no need for our submissions, exactly because we're not beating it. We need to be better than the meta model, as Slifox was saying earlier. We need to be better than the meta model. Or was it Michael who said that? I forget now. Either way, we need to be better than the meta model, and we need to have performance. So in that sense, we need to add something to it and make everything better overall. I don't think that there is a world where the meta model is perfect, because we're dealing with stocks. The regime changes happen. We have currency risk that thankfully we don't have the model out. And earnings, fraud. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why stocks will never, ever come to a perfect solution. So I'm quite happy with never having a perfect prediction. And so I think we'll always be able to add signal. And no matter how many changes the team makes to the tournament, we'll always be able to do something. And we'll just constantly rotate between the different solutions. What's the best way to introduce validation 2 into our cross-validation pipeline? I don't know. I want to see it first. I got to see how it's structured in the data. I haven't really thought about how I'm going to handle it yet, except that I'll probably add 2 iterations of arbitrage with that data. But I don't really plan on doing anything. I'm not going to change my models. I'm really hopeful I don't have to change any of my code and compute. I'll be really bummed if I have to rewrite everything, by the way. Just want to say that. That's something I would request, is that whatever change is done, do not change the number. So if it's column 3 through 313, leave that alone, please. Thanks. Yeah. So let's wait and see what the data looks like and how it's structured. If models are mostly a random walk, what value do they provide? I like this question too. If the models are a random walk, I'm saying that our performance should approximate a random walk. Because if we're predicting equities, it isn't very likely that we're stumbling into something that is going to stay above 0 for very long. And even Richard said something in the forum talking about autocorrelation and checking to see if our performance is stationary or not. What value are we providing? Hopefully we're doing a random walk and all of us individually are random and none of us are correlated. Because then the signal produced would be performant if you were to say average across all of us, right? Because at some portion of our portfolio, predictions may be good, and then summed across all of us, the noise, we can filter out some of the noise and come up with a good solution. So what value does a random walk model provide? Well, a lot, as long as it's different. Yeah,
I still don't
we
get
don't
that.
want correlation. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I don't quite understand that, I suppose. I mean, if you just have a slight edge over, you know, a coin flip, then that's super valuable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can make it, you know, a house in a casino makes a lot of, you know, bets on a lot of tables, right? And they make a lot of money, and they only have a slight edge over the gambler. But if it's just random, then even if you combine random models, then all you get is randomness, isn't it? Or
No, the idea would be that you had a correct solution on the times when you were positive in your score. You were right at that point. Hopefully you and some other people were too. And taking your signal combined with others, you're able to generate a model on top of that that carries the edge. So as an individual person, you shouldn't be able to have an edge. Or you should, you know, like ideally if Numerai were structuring the data in such a way, like you wouldn't be able to have an edge. It would be a random walk, but they would be able to extract from your model, my model, Michael's model, Bohr's model, Kino's model, all of us put together, they'd be able to extract that 1% edge that they're looking for. And it would scale in such a way that they could take the edge and trade on it. And we would be paid seemingly a random amount, but in such a way that we would be satisfied and they would make more money than we would. I mean, that's obviously, this is capitalism, right? There's no way we're going to earn an equal amount with them. So
I still don't understand it, but that's fine. I'll have to
yeah,
think
I don't
about
know how, I don't know quite else how to say that. I'll try to think of something and I can get back to you because I owe you. You helped me with my computer build, so you definitely earned some tuition-free help there. Bohr had a question. Made a model of hedge fund can be profitable when we are not. And that's a related kind of answer because made a model. What are your ideas of a fair payout system? Oh, here we go. Payout again. Leaderboard, MMC2, burn insurance, question. Well, fair is relative, but I don't want to work for free. So why don't we look at it from that perspective, right? The only reason that I am participating is to make money. And if I'm not making money, then I will not participate. How about that? Let's Homo economicus. We're all rational agents of the economy, and the only reason we do something is to increase our wealth, or we expend wealth to increase our utility, right? So I'm going to reject fair, and I'm going to go with wealth maximization. We're all rational people. We want to increase our wealth rather than decrease our wealth. So what is fair is that I want to be compensated for my effort. One of the things, a year and a half, 2 years ago, one of the things I was struggling with was the amount of time that I was spending on the tournament relative to the reward. And that was pre-compute. And this became a meme, but I said, I'm really glad to have my weekends back because that was one of my big complaints. I was losing money, burning, and I was giving up my Saturday afternoons because I had to run my model and, it was the race to get in first, right? That was when originality was a thing. So now what I'm, I guess, moving to is I don't expend hardly any effort because it's in compute. My model is very stable. And that's also why I'm asking very strongly that the features are 3 through 313. Please don't change that, especially if you're slicing using a pandas method. Because then I don't have to change anything. I'll continue to earn on work that's been done in the past. And so for me, that makes it a valuable system that I'll continue to participate in. So as long as if my effort is being rewarded and I feel that I'm being compensated for the time that I'm investing, then I think it's worth doing. When that time comes where I think I'm putting in more effort than I'm being rewarded for, then I'll exit. And I think that's kind of the best way to have it. Surely we're all here because we think we're getting rewarded for our time. Otherwise, I don't know. That's not a very fun game. Go ahead, Sly Fox. You're muted.
To me, there's like two games that are going on, right? There is the tournament, which is just a game of data science. And then there's the game of the hedge fund trying to make money in the markets. The hedge fund profits actually depend on more than just the performance of the group of the tournament. It depends on the amount of capital that we're able to have, and it also depends on execution and like whether or not we can execute that. So I think it somewhat makes sense for it to be decoupled. And if you want to play the second game and you're an accredited investor, you could also talk to us about that. Not advertising hedge funds, but you can email us for more information. Yeah.
Yeah, nor could you.
It's possible for us to, you know, be profitable and the hedge fund to lose money at the same time, right?
Correct.
Because,
so like if we're unable to execute for whatever reason, markets shut down, you know,
or slippage,
or we're just like not good, we don't have enough money to fund, we're still going to pay you. So
yeah.
I think it kind of cuts both ways. But if you want to play the other game, everyone is allowed to play the other game too.
Yeah, yeah, there is intrinsic benefit to the tournament that often gets forgotten in Rocket Chat. The intrinsic benefit of the tournament is that you improve your coding skills. You get to put your rank on your CV or your resume. There's a community, right? I've made friends out of this tournament. And if you know, there's probably more. Those are just the ones that become really relevant to me. Like I've been able to teach data science to finance students because of how aligned all of this is with my own interests. So for me, that's another intrinsic benefit. But the pure capitalist in me just can't help look at it from that sense. I'm only playing this game to make money. And if I don't think I can make money from staking, then I'll withdraw and sell it. And I have done that in the past. I've turned over my personal stack hundreds of times, hundreds. But at any rate, for a while, I was making more money trading than I was on the tournament. So, like, you know, that's how I look at it too. It is an interesting thought to look at. We'll be back Thursday next week. Thanks again. Have a great week, everybody.
Take care.